Hello, and good moments to you all. It's another one of our broadcasts. Today is Thursday, May 23rd, 2019, for me here on the other side of the planet. From those that are in America or elsewhere in Europe, I'm happy to see that there's a lot of things happening now in Europe with Brexit. Well, there's a new Brexit party. I have it queued up behind me. Nigel Farage, who has started his own Brexit party because of the government parties are who agreed to leave if they didn't, either there was a deal or no deal by the end of March, and that did not happen. Well, it's the law, isn't it? So if it's the law, and things just went past that date, how has it not happened? Isn't it just happened? And they just don't want to admit it? I don't quite get that. So anyway, I was intrigued by this because, Brexit started with just people rising up and saying, hey, we don't want this. They put together a referendum to leave, for Britain to leave the EU, to exit the EU. So Britain exit Brexit. And that Brexit has turned into a lot of other exits from people that don't want to be participating in these systems that are not for our benefit, but for the benefit of those elite cabal members. And they're so surprised when we just don't want to contract with them. We don't want to cooperate with them. So it's really good to see that these things are going now. I've kind of followed along with the Brexit party a little bit, not very heavy, but this caught my eye, and that's why I wanted to bring it up and just go over. It's just about a five minute piece, and so we'll go ahead and we'll start off here. Now this is Nigel Farage with the Brexit party. Also, just it has overwhelming support from the people, and will probably take over the entire government, and he'll probably end up being prime minister the way things are going.
The most eye-catching policy is that if you vote for us this Thursday, we will fundamentally shift the political debate in this country. The first thing you will do is you'll put a proper, clean break Brexit back on the table for the 31st of October. And I have little doubt that this will dominate the Conservative leadership contest over the course of the summer. So that debate will begin again. I also think that if we get, and it may not happen, but if we get a big win for the Brexit party, we'll kill off all thought of a second referendum, because Vince's side will realise they simply can't win it. And I also think that if these opinion polls we're looking at this morning are anything like right, we'll get rid of Mrs. May incredibly quickly. We may even see the end of Jeremy Corbyn too. So there are lots of very good reasons, I think, to vote for the Brexit Party, because what we're going to do is we're going to shift the centre of gravity of this debate.
And it's well, your most eye-catching policies are stop Brexit is pretty eye-catching. But actually the policies we need can only happen if Brexit stopped. I mean, the country is completely paralysed. The government isn't functioning, Parliament isn't functioning. There are massive problems out there to do with homelessness, crime, the lack of productivity in the economy. We cannot get on dealing with them as long as this Brexit issue hangs around. And if it happens, we then spend years negotiating these trade deals that Nigel has been talking about. I want us to have stability and security. We get that within the European Union. And as for the eye-catching policies, if we stay in the European Union, we can do something serious about the climate emergency. And the other thing I want to see happening, something I was doing in government, is actually delivering on the next stage of the single market.
We're the one party here with a very clear position. Vince's position is clear too. As for Labour and Conservative, why would anyone vote for them? Because goodness knows what they stand for.
You put out that advertisement, the whole
That wasn't about
showing immigrants who would hand out faces. I mean, I welcome people without faces. I was married to one, but people coming in from Europe are Europeans. It was giving a totally false picture of what immigration actually amounts to.
Democracy, quite simple really. We had a referendum, a full, free and fair referendum. We were told by the government the result, whatever it was, would be implemented. That couldn't have been clearer. We then had a general election in which about 85% of people voted for Labour and Conservative parties, both of whom promised they would honour the referendum and deliver Brexit. We then had 498 members of Parliament, a majority of 384, who voted for Article 50, and it went into UK law that we would leave at 11 p.m. on the 29th of March 2019 with or without a deal, agreement or new treaty. And for that now not to have happened, and to hear the argument, Vince Cable's argument, we just scrap it, get rid of it, Brexit mustn't happen at all. Either we're a democratic country, and I would have thought our great tradition was that we've always been a great democratic nation. We've spread that ethos around much of the world, particularly since 1945 with decolonisation. And I think this is a moment, whether you're a leaver or a remainer, to say promises must be kept. We are democracy.
It's not a very long way. It's that's the first 3 minutes, but just a couple points. 85% of the people voted, or was that the number? 85%. To think in any democracy to have 85% of people show up at the polls for a reason, that's amazing. Most of the time you don't have 50% of the people showing up. If 85% showed up, it must have been important. So they want to leave the bureaucracy that was put over top of them, that had no elected people now running them. This is the globalist system. This is the system that they want to bring around the world, where there is an overreaching bureaucracy that you can't touch. The deep state, it's so deep, too big to fail, you can't touch it, that will run everyone's lives regardless of who's in office, whatever the democracy is. So when we've been talking about the cabal, and we talked about these levels of government, where we're looking at, there was the draconian law, and then the monarch law, and then the crown corporation, and then you had the governments of the world, and that statute law, maritime law. These levels were there. Above the government level, right, above the statutes that are in place that we can all see and feel the impact of, we had all these levels above. So what they want to do was, above the governments, put another level of bureaucracy that covered all of them. It essentially was there in regards to finance. Let me rephrase that. In regards to banking, in regards to money, part of the UN, this infrastructure of control that was put into place. Is a bureaucracy. Does anyone vote for any one of those people that are put into it? Did you vote for the World Bank leaders? Did you vote for anyone in the IMF? Did you vote for anyone in the United Nations? Now, these are all appointed by the government people. But who selects those people for the people to be selected by the governments? Who's putting these people forth? That's the question. I think there's a level of control in that as well. So what we see here is the yellow vest movement in France is people standing up and say, we don't want to do this. Right now, they all try to make it about gas prices. And yeah, that was a major factor to get people upset. You know, increase this taxing, tax, remove more money from the people so they're not able to actually move. And then go ahead and give it to other people, right, that are not part of that country. So taking away from you and giving to someone else. So charity is all well and good when it's done from your heart. But to have someone come in and forcibly take from you and say, don't worry, I'm going to do good things with the money I'm taking from you, as their excuse, do you actually think that they're going to be doing good things? No. Little tiny percentage, right, that's going to end up going to these things. As Tank likes to say, website and t-shirt money. Just enough money to kind of go out there and look like you're doing something, put on a show. But the people in England have decided that they're going to move forward. Now, as I said in the beginning of this, for this to all be put into law, as you heard Nigel was talking about, that they set it all up, it's in law that they were gone from the whether it was an agreement or not at the end of March. How did it not happen? How does that happen? That's the bureaucracy just rejecting and saying, no, it doesn't matter what the law says, it matters what we say, what the bureaucracy says, the deep state says. Same thing will happen with Trump, right? They didn't like what the people said. The bureaucracy is saying, oh, well, we're going to show you why you don't want Trump. He's a bad guy. Orange man bad. So we have to be aware of what this is that we're fighting against. Who's fighting against us, right? They're in openly going out and trying to defeat anyone that's on the side of Brexit, for example. Anyone who's on the side of Trump. Anyone who's coming out to say that they are those sides are bad, that they want to do the worst for you. But they're coming from this position of being in power and getting to say whatever they want. This is actually the real reason of the French Revolution, and it was the bureaucracy. You had to bribe your way to form a business. You had to, always deal with the people who were not elected, who are not anything other than the bureaucrats. That they are the ones that came into this and basically started making all these rules for people to comply. Out of their power, they were corrupt. It was not for the good of everyone. It was for only them. So this layer that they want to put across the world, this deep state world, where you have the democracies down here that tame the people, that keep the people entertained with the look at what he said, what she said, back and forth, pointing at the other sides. Doesn't matter who you vote for then, isn't it? It's you got both sides, that are always going to continue this puppet show. Occasionally we're able to break free. Trump was one of these times. And the reason was that there was patriots in the military that saw that we were going to lose the only free country in the world. You might want to think that the people in England are free, or you might want to think the people in Europe are free. But even though they have democracies, the aspect of what freedom is not part of who they were. They didn't have that baked into their bones from their birth. The Revolutionary War that took place, that had the people have an understanding that I am sovereign, I am above the government. That is what this is all about. When we are sovereign, there is no government above us. So when we talk about creating a whole new world and we're going to be part of an abundance-based world, we have to realize that the governments that are in place don't understand. Number one, they're all part of bureaucracy. They're the ones that make the rules. That corrupts their thinking. Even if they went into government with good intentions, they'll come up with lots of reasons. Oh, well, the people don't know what's good for them. We know better. After all, we're the ones doing it. We have the experience. And they just, in their own enclave, they get into this mix, right, of other people that are all in their same group, talking amongst themselves. So that's the reality that they know. Outside of that, outside of that government bubble, the people are looking at them and saying, what are you doing to us? And this is just one view, one perspective of this, because we have all these other things that are on top of that, above that, you know, the bloodline families and the monarchies and what has happened around the world, for them to contain this and to own this and to own the people. Again, the only free country that's really has been in the world has been America. Well, maybe Fiji. Probably Tui is going to agree with me on that one, because they had the law of the land that saved them from being able to be absorbed by the mechanics of the bureaucracy. Because these things are not of the people's heart; they're of a machine. You know, a bureaucracy is just a machine that has people pushing the buttons and moving the papers and stamping the papers and moving to the next. They only do what their job is. There's no real thought. And the ones above, they get so caught up into the power, they really get detached. So we have to recognize this, and we start talking about creating an abundance-based world. What does that actually look like? What is it in the world that we can look at and say, well, this is what an abundance-based system will look like? We look at the money system, for example. I brought this up before when we start talking about interest-based money. How in religions such as the Jewish religion and Muslim religion, interest is evil. And people, it's really a hard concept to really grasp. Why is it evil? Right? And you have to know that its result is enslavement, and that's why. Now we can go into that, but let's set that aside for a moment. So in the world of finance in the world, what does an abundance-based system look like? Now I've been talking about, you know, reversing the flow. You know, why should governments collect taxes, fines, and fees? If the government, not a banking system, is the source of moving money out into their economy, why do they have to collect it back? So if you there is practical reasons why they say that. Now, if you eliminated the interest, because 100% of all money collected in taxes goes to pay interest to the banking system. That's the existing system, right? They have to pay the interest. When that didn't occur, back when there was no central banks in America, the central bank system kept trying to latch on to America, and they kept rejecting it. Their charter would end. The Federal Reserve Charter is over. It's not been renewed. They are no longer, in any effect, really in charge of money of the United States of America. So when we start talking about, not having the interest attached to pay that, right? So let's set that aside. And the country is printing their own money, let's say based on gold that they're sitting in the country's, vaults, okay? They have an asset. And let's say that they print up, 10 times the amount of asset that they have, because that's, that fractional reserve, right? You take a fraction of that and it multiplies. So this system was moving money out into the system. So it can only go that far, right? Unless they extended times more that they'd be able to lend out or get out into the economy. So there has to be a system that has a feedback that allows the country to do more. Now, let's say they add more asset. Well, great. The country is producing asset. What will they produce? They produce gold. People in the country buys the gold from the people who are producing it. They can then do 10 times. Well, great. That's a feedback. There's a connection between the what's being produced out in the economy and what the government is putting out in the form of money. So if we have an idea, right, that there's asset that can be leveraged to produce more cash in the industry, that means the money flowing out into the hands of the people are staying out there in the hands of the people. If there's no big sucking sound back into the government, that money is going to continue to be in circulation. And I once did, maybe twice, did this example of what the velocity of money is. And I used the example of a $100 bill that the guy came into town to had several meetings, and he went to the hotel and he said, hold a room for me. I'll put this on deposit, this $100. And he went off for his meetings, but the owner of the hotel took that $100 and went and spent it on vegetables, and the guy who he got the vegetables from used it to buy supplies from somewhere else, and then he used it to buy something else. It ended up going all the way back until a guy came to the hotel who ended up with that same $100 bill, went to this hotel and said, okay, hey, I need a room for the night, paid the $100. Then he's staying there. The original $100 bill is back in the hands of the hotel owner, and then the guy who originally came in with that $100 bill said as a deposit, said, you know what, I'm not going to need a room. Can I have my $100 back? Pulled it back. That same $100 and if it was exchanged 10 times or 100 times, paid for things along the way. Same $100. So if you have all this money moving out into the world economy and it moves fast, you've got a lot of economic activity. If it slows down, you still have the same amount of money. The value is out there into the economy. It's being built upon. It's not being sucked out by the few at the top of the pyramid. So we start thinking about what is an abundance-based system, and we're not having the return of money to the government. Government doesn't need to back because they're printing it in the first place. If the government needs to pay an army, great, they pay the army. They need to buy gold for their stockpile to print more, great, buy more gold. It's times 10. Worth the deal, right? And they move that back into the economy. This system is wonderful. But what else can we do? Because what we're talked about doing is bringing back into the world economy from is some asset so that they can pop it out there. Well, what else can be an asset other than gold? So let's answer this question. Just check here. Sorry, certain times I get messages and I just got to take a look. So pardon me, and just in case. If we're talking about the assets, what else out there in the world economy is an asset other than gold? If we look at the people in today's environment, they are being used as an asset, supposedly for their benefit, being the beneficiary of the entity that was created. If we recognize the true positioning or standing that you have, and you correct your standing with that entity, that birth certificate entity of that business, you want to call it a business, that you are the beneficiary of it, the reason why it has value is based upon the things that you go out and do. There's a base value, but then when you go out and you generate paperwork, let's put it this way, you generate other entities, you put your signature to things, you buy things on with your signature, you write checks, you create mortgages, you start registered businesses into that, and you incorporate businesses. Your productivity in the environment of this economy is higher. But in the existing system, they've tricked everyone into being the one that's responsible to pay all the bills of this entity instead of being the beneficiary. Because who's benefiting from it is those bankers, right? They're absorbing all of your productivity. They are being a parasite on your productivity. If we can recognize that they use this as an asset and make it the people's asset that they get actually the benefit of, there's something in which a trade can occur between the government and the people. For what? For money. So using the existing tools at hand, we can literally redesign the world economy to be something which is for our benefit and the government, because the government is of the people. The government gets more money, right? Because we did a trade that moves back out into the world. And that economic flow, velocity of money just keeps moving around, and everyone becomes wealthy. Not by dumping a bunch of cash on everybody and destroying the existing system like in the GCR, but using the existing tools of the world economy as is, and just allowing the information to flow to the people on how they are actually to be the beneficiary, to recognize their self-worth, their sovereignty, and the government not to be on an interest-based system. We can literally change the world. We can make everybody abundant without collapsing the existing infrastructure, because you're just not sending it to the top of the pyramid, right? Now, who's going to be against this is going to be the people at the top of the pyramid, the layers of government below that, the bureaucracy layer that they're trying to put in place around the world, the EU model. They're going to be against this. But the people are making a difference because we're standing up. So we're using the number 4 out of 100, or 3.5% of the people need to stand up, and this all changes. 4 out of 100. Get a little buffer. Don't want to split a person, right? I guess you could use a kid, half size. So 3.5%, or 4 out of 100 people standing up and making a difference can change everything. We can create a new world economy based upon our actions. So all the people in the government would then be loved, right? Instead of hating the government and distest and necessary evil and all this, suddenly the people in the government are now loved. Why? Because they're sending the money out into the economy. They're not collecting from anyone, not forcing everyone to be an accountant and work and figure out how many cents went over there and over here to pay for it. Where does that receipt? I know I had the receipt somewhere. It was in my back pocket. Oh my goodness, now how am I going to write this off of the taxes and all that madness? So the government will then be loved by the people. It's a much more efficient system. Collecting taxes is very burdensome on everybody, including the government. And then you have to use mafia techniques to collect money from people, right? So we can create a system that is very different and will be beneficial for everyone. So again, we just have to work out how this happens. Now, I've been kind of on track with this, coming up with how do you create abundance-based business models. It's great to eliminate interest, right, and redefine the assets that are being used to create money. That's one thing. But when you start working out business models with people, right, that are fair to everyone, it's not about always getting the lion's share. Not being about being in complete control of everything, so that no one else has a say. Unless, but there are businesses in which there are people that really need to be in control. Let's just let that be. But you can also create a system in which those people can exist, but the people that are working with them and dealing with them understand that, and it's laid out, and it's not used some kind of system that is not. So let's say a sole proprietor, right? You're 100% control. That's fine. So what I'm trying to define here is not that you don't have to have ultimate. It's not all about having committees, right? A committee-driven business. Yeah. Committees are great to solve, to identify a problem, not solve a problem. Individuals can solve the problem because it comes from their idea. They can, the committee can come up with some recommendations on directions, but someone's going to have to decide. The leader of that industry, that company, is going to have to really take steps and make it happen, and then put the plan into place and put people into responsible positions. But when you create a business model that's about abundance, what does that mean? That means it's win-win. That's that simple. Everybody wins. If you agree to participate in this, you should be winning. Whether or not it is under a sole proprietor, or either it's has 10 owners, each having 10%, or one owner with 50% and 9 owners that split 50%, or an owner with 51% and then 9 owners that split 49% in whatever dimension. Whatever that model is, does it create a win-win scenario? That's all that we're talking about. And the people should be able to participate with that and have the confidence in knowing that system when you start participating with it is what it's supposed to be at the end of the line, right? So that so it doesn't change. So can we create that? And the answer to this is yes. And the reason we can do that is through the use of technology. When we look at technology, there's always a ramp up, and sometimes when things are starting to be developed, things take a direction that maybe you don't intend to have them go, right? And then you have to rebalance that technology to make it more for the benefit of everybody. And that happens pretty much naturally, unless some monopoly forms and they use monopoly power to keep a hold of their. So in general, monopolies are not good. Not to say that if there's a natural monopoly, monopolies are not illegal per se. It's when you use monopoly power to maintain your monopoly, that's illegal. If someone's created a great business and they're the only ones, they are the monopoly. If there's a competitor that rises and they never get beyond 10% of the market, so be it. But if there are, great companies out there that are competing head to head, and you end up where each one's taking, 20% of the market, you got 5 of them. That's just what it is. You might have with 100 competitors. Some will do better on this, some will do better at that, and that model is where true capitalism comes into play, because it's about the consumer that's coming into this and saying, I'm going to use my own personal judgment to say, I'm going to choose this one because I like this. And I'm going to leave this one because I don't like how they've changed things, and I'm going over to there. So this is a natural system. Nature's law, common law. It functions. So when we start looking at how do we do this on all whites, right? When we're looking for business models, we have to recognize that. So when we use technology as a base to do this, if we know we're going to build a structure that allows for all of these things to happen, and we use what I had coined many years ago called open architecture and closed source, that you know the rules of the game. Everything is laid out for you, and it can't be changed. You can rely on it. You can build your business. You can build your life. It's not someone's going to come around and go in through a back door and outmaneuver you. That's not fair. Closed source meaning that whatever you build, you have the control over it. No one can decide they're going to come in and take it over, come in and decide they're going to do something, take your technology, whatever, because you've kept it secret. I'm not get into the patenting issue and talk about all the stuff that's being held back. But in general, to have the structure of being able to use technology to keep track of things is something that's never existed that we know in our history. There may have been some things in the past and with multiples, repeats of civilizations, but let's not go there. We're talking about our current civilization, how we've evolved. We have now technology that allows us to do things and keep track of things. It may be a little bit more difficult, that would have been cumbersome to do. A lot of things in dealing with say, just inventories, for example, they've gotten to a point where it's all just in time, right? No one's going around and counting things necessarily. Sometimes you do a physical check, but the reality is that people can manage things through the computer technology and barcodes and things to kind of know when just-in-time inventory levels are met, and then reordering takes place. But if you take that kind of a system and you bring that up to where this happens for just-in-time inventory for your refrigerator, so that the food supplies arrive, the ones that you like, and even if you decide you like going to the market, I like going out to farmers markets and seeing what's done and hey, I want to choose between this and that. But sometimes you just want to have it delivered. So we have conveniences and things like that that come from the technology. That's one level. But when you start talking about business models and things of that nature, you can literally have a structure using a social environment that allows people to interact within the groups that they want to participate in and act in an independent way. So I was working towards this in what I call Personomy, a social networking e-commerce platform that was designed to allow individuals to have, number one, control over their information. Everything they did was their own, wasn't owned by Personomy. Interactions that they did were their own. The social groups that they set up, they had control. So some of them in any kind of model, but all of this stuff could have been laid out that we normally say, well, I want to have a group and these are the rules, and pop this rule in, pop that rule in. The environment is standardized in that way. And it can get to that level of making things more like committee driven or more of a sole proprietor system. So you can create those things with technology. We can have a world in which we're looking at, creating abundance. And when a new model is created and put out there, how well does it do? You can track it. So we can use technology, and it all comes down to, just a cell phone, holding your data in. And if you lost your cell phone, that data is still secure, and you can just pick up another device and there you are. That was also part of my original system before Personomy, which was a hardware-driven solution based around the Amiga computer I was buying from Gateway Computers at the time. Amiga was its own platform, originally under Commodore business machines. So that was back in 1999, where we were going to launch a new hardware-based system. But these same concept I was working on way back then are still coming about and moving towards this direction. So if we're looking at having access to the projects coming through Kim and money is being made available, the project I'd like to build is this social networking e-commerce platform that provides a structure for doing commerce and also for interacting with people to allow for these abundance-based models to exist. And cryptocurrency being one form in which I was using as a mechanism to bypass all the madness of the governments and the banking, because it was literally like a virus on the internet, released, and it just propagated. And its decentralized nature is so against what the existing system is. It's going to be hard for them to put this genie back in the bottle. Pretty much impossible. So what we're looking at now is how do we take our steps forward, and doing a project where we're looking at pulling in different resources for people that want to build a VA center, or just like Doris Newman, her project, make a place for homeless vets, or a place where they can come in and and have that goal happen. And even if they're not technology driven, they can still participate in the system without giving up who they are, without giving up all the ownership of all of their interactions, but they can also participate and add to society. So these projects now could have a way of interaction. And when you have individuals, which I actually received an email from a vet that was looking at how to participate. Has a great background in things, but is how would he participate? I'm just thinking, it's easy. Tank has said many times how people could come on to this program. Again, I mean, let me rephrase that. Could come in to work with, say, Create Change, and go and offer their services for other people who have projects, so that they can actually say, hey, this project may need you, right? And just make the connections. So those types of things are what I think are very important for us to start building. So our abundance-based model also basically comes from us. We need to be able to interact and work in the world where we're all feeling that the things we stand up for and that we want to participate in, we can do freely, and we can now have benefit from that. Get paid, or until you get your own project you want to do and move out, and that's fine. Some people are all about moving from project to project and just offering services, and that's also wonderful. Some people want to be focused on getting one project done and create that and make it happen. So these are things that are ongoing, that people will be able to do in their lives as we move forward and create and create and create and create change. All right. So I guess I think I covered that topic. So let's move on a little bit here. First, I'm going to send. I did send Tank his message, but I didn't send it to the link. I'll send it to Tui, so Tui has the new link. That's number one. And then let me see what's going on in our chat room over here. I'll go ahead and share my screen. One moment. So Tui, you're welcome to join in right now. It's okay if you want to jump or wait for Tank. It might be another 15 minutes to 45 minutes before he's done with his program and jumps in over here. I did just so you know, I did just post another one of Tank's Speak Up with Tank on the projects that he does during the week. So I just posted one an hour before this show. And I'll keep posting them on this YouTube channel so that you can listen to them from there, or you can go to speakproject.net. I'm sorry, projectspeak.net. the web domain is the reverse of the name, so it's kind of, I get backwards on saying it sometimes, reversed. So okay. Yeah, let me go ahead and share my screen here. There we go. Okay, starting up here at the beginning. Yeah, Robert was the first into the room. I say namaste. Okay. Thumbs up. Yeah, thank you for. Remember, everyone, give your thumbs up. We've got 100 people watching now. Give your thumbs up. All right. We're at 38 thumbs up so far. Be sure to share. Even if you shared before, share the link, put it up on your Facebook, share it to all your social media. That helps expand the message. And I said, good moments to you all. I started using good moments instead of good morning, because the mourning is that thing you do after someone dies, right? You're in mourning. Why do we always use these death references? That's why I changed. I said, good moment. Good moments to you all. I got a few people that are telling me good moments back, so it's good. Love and light. The quantum shift 21 to 5. I don't know what that means. Sorry. I'm voting for the Brexit Party tomorrow. Okay, Sarah Ann, way to go. I think we're going to see a Brexit Party take over England. Well, it's like probably they'll have a friendship Brexit Party form. I think there's a couple others that are forming. I think Italy has some momentum in that direction as well. They want to get out of the bureaucracy and craziness. Okay. We're going. The energy of the collective frequency is off the charts. Yes, we are really energized. Aloha. 57 and 3. So, oh, that's interesting. Oh, 57 people viewing and 3. So we're at 113 right now. Okay, let's see. Hello, Jim Bob. Hey, Jim Bob, give me a call after the broadcast today. We got to talk about the Kringle Society and promotions and stuff. Just as a little side note, on the a lot of the promotions have been about participating in certain cookie programs and things like that about distribution. It looks like that the next we're currently in a redemption month. You redeem all your points. There are 2 months that there was a redemption. So May and November. Looks like November will be the final redemption month. After that, there'll be a new type of system. There's a new system right now. It's a Bitcoin bounty system. As one of someone's.
Hi, Dan. Sorry. Hey, Dan. Sorry, I just wanna introduce everyone to the show today.
So many people.
I think.
Hello.
Yes, so many people. Yeah, so we just had yeah. That's why I lost my voice. And so we just had a meeting. We're having a lunch break. So I just wanna introduce everyone to the people here in Fiji and to the chiefs and everyone on the show. Thank you so much for joining us. Wherever you are watching live, peace and love from Fiji. Sorry, I just came on the show. Yeah, so the whole country is actually ready for it. We'll be we'll be healing our country together, and out of just awareness of the self, the love within us, and we should be able to express that together as a nation. So yeah, we thank you. This is just a chance for us to introduce ourselves. Thank you so much to everyone on the live chat. This is happening every day. Today is just another day that is happening, and there's a lot of. I'm doing a lot of a seminar or a conference or talk. So they come in and hear it, and they listen, and then they go in, they do research. Now there's a lot of awareness, a lot of it is spreading all over the country. As soon as this project starts, this will be multiplied by 100 or 200. We'll be reaching to hundreds and 200 to 300,000 people easily, and we'll be doing a lot of traveling as well. So not just here in Fiji, but the rest of the Pacific as well, and then to the rest of the world. We'll be coming to the US. We'll be coming to the Asian countries. We'll be coming to Africa, and first we would like to invite everyone here to join us in that celebration. And so, yeah, thank you very much, Dan. Just want to do that just to show you how many people that are here.
That's
And yeah.
so. What are you having any movement within the government right now?
Yes, we are in contact now with our military, and we are working together to try and get the government to the know. You know, after what you said yesterday, after what we talked about, and how you talk about how they needed that everyone needed the change in government or the revolution. The revolution is actually happening, but it's not gonna happen the way it used to be happening before. Now it will all be done out of self-respect.
It's not about rising up with weapons, right? It's about or a military coup. It's about the people saying, okay, we need to change out what's going on here.
Yes, that's it. And that's that's all. That's what it's all about. The love and the awareness of the self, and in order to make to do that, and in order to express that love, the um, the lesson that we'll have to learn from it has to be a different one. It's not gonna be the same lesson that we've been learning. Fiji has gone through 4 coups already. Uh, Even though it wasn't so destructive like anywhere else in the world, the this time it's not gonna be a coup that's gonna be happening outside, but it's just gonna be the coup of people reclaiming their own sovereignty through the awareness and through learning from each other. And so, if that projects, if if all went well, all is going to go well this week, we might start the project next week if if it all goes well with Tank and with Kim, with the trust. So we look forward to it. We're just gonna try and prepare ourselves as very well as we can prepare ourselves, so that when it starts, we will have we have to be prepared physically, mentally, with our energy, and we'll be able to do it to the fullest of our ability. And so, yeah, I just wanna say that and introduce everyone here, and I just wanna say thank you to you, Dan, for the show today. Sorry, I was not listening to the show from the beginning. I just
Yeah, you got to go back and listen to this one. It's a good one. Listen,
yes.
how to create an abundance-based world. Step-by-step instructions.
Nice. So how was Tank? Was he able to come on today?
No, it's not his time. He's just finishing his project show right now. So he finishes at 10. So it's like 2 minutes to 10, and then over the next 10 minutes, half an hour, he'll join in. Yesterday he had a problem, making it on, but he very end. 2 minutes. Soon enough.
Right. So 8 p.m. Sorry, just a question to you then. 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. What would the time be in Fiji time?
Well, it's right now 10 p.m. Standard Time.
Oh, okay. So it's about 2 o'clock here in Fiji now.
hours prior.
So that's about 12 o'clock Fiji time. 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I see.
Hours ahead of you, but really it's behind a day.
Yes.
8 hours ahead of you, but behind a day.
Yes. A day behind.
But 8
hours ahead.
So if it's noon for you, it's 8 p.m. there the previous day.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I I found this works better for me when I think about it. From the time I'm thinking about, the time, is it ahead of me or before me, and is it, and then whether it's a day ago or not doesn't really matter, right?
All right.
That they're 8 hours ahead of me. So I was talking to Pele in Hawaii, right? At the 7 a.m. for me this morning, and for her it was 1 p.m. So, and I said, "Oh, good. Now I know she's 5 hours ahead of me." I'm like, no, I think she was at 2 p.m. That's right. Anyway, so she's 5.
Galactic Unicorn.
Yeah. Oh, hey, Tank.
Hey,
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Bulavinaka, greetings to you.
I always want to say what you say to me when you say hello. I don't know why I can't remember.
No, it's just it's easy. Bula is Bula, and
Bula?
Vinaka.
Bula. Bula.
Yes. Bula.
Okay. Bula Vinaka.
Bula.
Luckily, we communicate through frequency and imagery, so it's fine.
Yes. Yes.
Well, the frequency of laughter and fun.
Just peace, man. Love, jeez, I need it.
Laughing is the same in every language.
It's
Yes.
true. Uncontrollable joy. I love it. I love it.
Well, I guess you could have that maniacal laugh of like Dr. Evil.
Yeah. But even that's kind of funny. I mean, that's not funny. So, what have you guys been talking about?
Fiji, and they're moving forward on things. They got like a couple hundred people there right now, and I was talking about how to create an abundance-based world for the future.
Yeah. We just,
Fiji sounds like so much fun. Listen,
taking a break. Yeah. We just finished our meeting. So today was the first because I didn't come here 3 days ago. I was trying to heal my voice up so I can speak again. And as soon as it's healed, I'm back here and I'm talking to hundreds and hundreds of people. And yeah, so as soon as we are done, I was able to call Dana. So I just came in as well to just a few minutes ago. So yeah.
man, Tui, today has been a day, bro. So it's good to feel your energy, to be honest, man. I'm glad.
Yes, indeed.
Kim had to. She didn't give me details. She just kind of gave me a few pieces, but it appears that the secret space program somehow found a way to do something. I can't.
No. Damn.
Hello. Tank. Hello, Tank.
I'm here.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I didn't even touch my phone. I don't know how that happened. Sorry. So the Kim had to deal with something with the secret space program, and that she has now eliminated them as a factor on any level. And apparently they must have found some way to access some portion of the code. And so Kim is now, she had to, all the work, or not all the work, but the pieces, she had everything finished. And so she now has gone back in and she has to scrap, she's deleting major portions of the code. And then when she does that, then she told me today that she had to be in programming as much as possible because she got derailed and she was working with to take care of that threat with the secret space program.
Nice.
So I still say that it's now, all right. That's my feel on it. Tui, I feel
Yes,
like
indeed.
I trust the Fijians that what they're seeing because it is without question. I can feel it. It's here. It's now. It's all going down.
Yep.
In addition to every indicator, but man, these guys are they just don't want to give up. They just don't want to give up. It's It's a sad state of affairs, actually. So it's kind of where we're at, and they're exposing things all over the place, though, Dan. I don't know if you saw the hearing today where I forget what congressman it was, but they had a hearing today, and they were talking about these the facial recognition software. How they have 50 million cameras, and it goes to a database back to the DMV, and then the FBI uses it freely, and the other agencies. They violate our First and Fourth Amendments, but they're finally doing something about it. That's the amazing part, right? They're going to shut it down.
Nice.
So we're making progress.
Yeah, you're a little bit hard to hear, Tank. Also, the Hui has some background noise also that's kind of interfering.
Sorry about that. Am I any more clear now?
A little bit, yeah.
I'm trying. So I'm in a good spot. I've gotten lined up so I put myself in the right position the best I can, so I don't have issues. But it's just
tippy toes.
Yeah.
Get up.
I'm on one leg right now, hanging on the roof of my car.
There you go. Don't move. That's it, right there. You sound good.
like Fred Flintstone.
Yeah. So that's it's interesting. The secret space program is now interfering. I know that the information that about there being like an alliance out of the secret space program that was coming out of David Wilcox and Corey Goode. And the first one I ever hear anyone to say anything against that was Thomas. Right? Is that the secret space program never did anything good for you? That kind of thing. So
very true. The Majestic 12, like the original, guys. There's always like this talk of the 13th member. Well, I know the 13th member, and he he was pretty amazing in some of the stuff he shared, right? And told me about like this super intelligent group, right, of this secret space program, and they used to have access to all types of technologies and computers and things like that. And Kim cut that all off, right, so that they could no longer get to it a while ago. And so they have other things they can do and that they're part of that. But she also cut off their system. But Kim always cuts off like a piece of it because there's all types of valuable technology to humanity associated with them on some level. But they don't know when to quit. They don't know when to stop. So finally, it looks like and she didn't give me details though, so I don't know what happened right now. But when the way she phrased it was, they're no longer a threat at all. So good job, guys. Way to get another. What could have been an amazing group to do amazing things, but because you want to be in control and destroy the world, you messed it up. So.
Good. They're out of control then. Out of
position. Well, I'm not even sure what they were able to do. They must have had some portion of code that they were, able to, glean from somewhere. This code that Kim wrote in, because she told me she went back in, she was deleting all the code. But to be honest, Kim is so tactical that very well could have been a trap. To see, because a lot of this, she's baited them over and over and over again. Let them think they get inside, and they expose themselves, and she takes them out over and over again.
Oh, I was telling you, shh, quiet. Don't let them know.
At this point, if they listened to anything, they would have given up by now. I know they're listening to what I say, but half the time they're so dead set on killing themselves. They're like, no, we are going to die proud idiots. Like, good for you. Good job. Enjoy it. Way to stand your ground. It's really, really manly. Good job. Like, what a pack of idiots. I don't care how smart they are. The fact that they need to be in control, right, is idiotic. Like, if all you've done is brought war to the world and you've come up with really innovative, great ways to cause war, control people, enslave children, kill and rape, you're not human. You gotta go. And I'll tell you, it's funny. I've been very careful ever since I talked to this woman, Jalela Starr, a couple of years ago. And she was kind of, and I had written this letter to the Galactics back then, right? And I was just making a point because I was making a point that I really was not afraid of it, to talk to anybody and call them out. And I do feel on some level that the Galactics have allowed things to go on more than they should have. To expect people to come out of this kind of absolute mind control in the midst of and to transcend it somehow, knowing what's happening, knowing the vicious blocks that have been put on people, and the slavery they're subjected to, and the absolute demoralization over and over and over again, lifetime after lifetime. That's why someone like Tui comes back from the future to correct it, because it created a horrible future. And to be honest, it speaks to their negligence in letting it happen in the first place. So, now I understand we have to liberate ourselves, but at the same time, you got to think all of these characters, the blue blood Rothschilds, right? And I'm not sure if they actually have blue blood, but I'm pretty sure it's like different than ours, from what I understand, right? I mean, they're the offspring of these, half draconian, half human, or part draconian, part human things, right?
Mm.
And and they won't get involved unless it has to do with interracial, meaning different races of like humans and galactics, right? If it's just a human problem, they're like, yo, that's your problem, deal with it. Which I would agree, but the problem is that you program these people so viciously, and you allowed the draconians to program everyone so much, then you release smart dust into everything. You had these nanites that were in everything, and they create their own frequency that gets activated by all the other frequencies around us. So you basically end up being in this massive grid, and it's because in reality, many of us should be waking up right now, and it should be a lot more. But that frequency grid is still holding on enough, I guess, to hold people in that vibration. So that's why it's so important for us
Well,
to just get brighter and vibrate, at a higher frequency or whatever it takes, and just be more amazing. I mean, more now than ever, anybody who's got an inkling to speak, anybody who's got any sway anywhere, can do anything. Now's the time to do it, because this is the push that really needs to happen at the end, in my opinion.
the beginning of this first half hour that I did today, I think you should go back and listen to. And this is part of the point was is that I brought up Brexit, and there's going to be a new Brexit party. I have Nigel Farage on the back on the screen behind me that I went through a little 3 minutes of they're voting on a new Brexit party, and pointing out that they stood up, right? The people in England, 85% of them stood up and voted to leave the EU, and that the EU is a bureaucracy. It's a deep state that they rejected, a non-elected body of people that are just interested in one thing: controlling everyone. Without people having a say in what and how their lives are to be run, and they just keep removing more money from their hands. And so what we're talking about, in France is the same thing. They're standing up, and people are really just making a statement and wearing a yellow vest. And we've got the people in QAnon or the people around the world where they're all just deciding we don't want this deep state that's only in it for themselves, a power situation. They're only interested in controlling others. So we need to come up with an abundance waste system, an abundance world, and we need to stand up and do it. We need to take action now, and that's what we're doing.
Well, I agree. I also think right now I am actively working with various people behind the scenes to try to figure out the best way to have an active, peaceful protest, to really take a stand in a way that is in harmony with the purpose, right? Because the reality, I love what this woman did in Times Square. You know, she's a pro-life advocate, survivor of her own abortion, right? Like she was an attempted abortion, and she broadcast her own 3D sonogram right in the middle of Times Square. You know, and it's impossible to find. Like I haven't been able to get my hands on it, and maybe they released it now, but from what I was told is that it was dead silent in Times Square. Now, if you've ever been in Times Square, it's never dead silent. It's, you know, everything's talking to you. Stores are talking to you. People are yelling and selling and doing everywhere, right? There's clowns and half naked cowboys and, you know, fully naked protesters. I mean, it's just nonstop chaos there, right? To shut that down for a moment, to just shut that down and just allow people just to connect and remember what it means to be alive, you know, where how you got here, you know. And I saw a great argument about this, you know, even in Roe versus Wade, it actually acknowledges in the procedures that not just the woman's life. It says the woman's life and the life of the unborn child are separate, and you treat them separately. So just in that, the laws actually acknowledge the unborn child as alive, right? That's why they came up with that limit of the first trimester. So you got to think like, if that's the case, and that's what the law says, what the heaven is wrong with these people that they don't have to, or actually, who are these people that are allegedly represent us? They represent the people. They get to go in there and say, you know, that we can kill your kids. You know what, you can do whatever you want. Nothing matters. You know, it's always the woman's choice, right? And then pretend like they're empowering a woman. But you know, there's this cult. I forget what it's called. It's like numbers, like Roman numerals, up in Albany. Did you hear about this? It was like a doctor, and he created this sex cult with all these women.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Right.
Nexus or Nexius or yeah, it's you know.
And the women would, you know, they'd get branded with his symbol, and they had to expose themselves and, you know, take all
Kind
these
of like
horrible
the
pictures.
vampire branding.
Yep, exactly like that, right? Now, in this, the other women recruited other women, and they basically sold it as this great, you know, release and empowerment of being a woman. Now, I can't help but think that you had the same area, is the exact same area, where you had these, you know, this judicial, or not judicial, but this government body up in New York, in Albany, the same area where they're cheering, you know, for 40-week full-term abortions, right? In other words, there's a delusion that exists there right now that's being perpetuated through various things to make people think that killing babies is a way to liberate women and really empower women, right? That's the kind of stuff that I just really, some days are just harder than others. I struggle with that is even possible, to be honest. Like, how is that allowed to continue? And I
Brainwashing.
wrestle with this. I know, but I wrestle with it every day. I'm just like, sometimes I'm like, I don't know if I'm doing enough to make a difference, and I don't know what else to do, you know?
I think you know there is enough people standing up that it's already started. The tide has turned. It's moving back the other way towards life. I can see it on many fronts. So you know, hope is all around. So we can hope it goes faster.
You know what? Hope is not enough. It takes action.
Yes, it takes
You know what?
action. Yes.
Yeah, like you know how it goes. The quote from Teddy Roosevelt, or is it or JFK? I'm not even sure which one who said it first, but he said all it takes for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing.
Yep.
You know, and I think about that all the time.
Yeah.
I'm like, where are all the men right now? And I'm not trying to discount or disempower women. Like, geez, like I would expect men to stand up and recognize what's going on.
Again, it's always the opposite, right? They project what they want you to believe, right, is the opposite, right? But they use these catchphrases to mean one thing. It's not about empowerment; it's about enslavement.
Yes, it
Enslaved to
is.
the ideals of this, actually, to eliminate, you know, the devalue human life is number one. So if you're devalued, you could be owned, right? If you're priceless, you're infinite value. You cannot have less value if you're infinite value. So anything that detracts from your value creates a slave, an incentive. I also kind of covered part of this in talking about the interest on money. Kind of say that always leads to where a slave type system. Whenever you start charging interest, it seems far fetched when you first hear about it, but if you follow through how things actually evolve, it always goes there. That's why, in the Muslim and Jewish religions, charging interest is illegal. It's evil.
Yes, that is true. And actually, in that aspect of the, that's part of, I don't know, Sharia law or whatever. And it's funny because they use that one good thing about that perversion about the whole perverse aspects that they're teaching, right? And that one thing is good. That is good. But it's just amazing to me that anything good they pervert, right? And on the other side, like, what, they take something they're trying to hurt us with, and we build a bridge with it. They throw rocks at us, we build a bridge. And we keep finding ways to overcome those things. And I honestly, I see the power of the human spirit, and I just want that to shine and to just be on display. I think anybody who just is in love with their wife, they want to show her off. Anybody who's in love with their kids, they want everybody to know. And I just want people to be that. I want people to stand up and be worthy of that. I think about that all the time, man. My grandmother put something on me, and I think about this all the time: is walk worthy. Walk worthy for the vocation that you've been called, right? So we've been called to do a job, and I'm always consciously trying to examine myself, make sure I'm walking worthy of it. That I'm giving all I have. And when things don't go just right, I don't generally get discouraged by any means. I usually see the advantage in it. But some days, like today, I'm just exhausted with their nonsense, and I'm really disappointed in, the indifference that is so prevalent. I'm just disappointed in the leaders. I mean, I just want to see them actually stand up and lead. You got to this position because people believe in you. Like this, big baby Elijah Cummings there, the representative, right? He's always trying to go after Trump. He's always trying to attack him, and never says why. But he just his presence, just because the color of his skin, he makes Trump look like a racist. He makes him look like a bad person because he's coming after him like, oh, he has to be impeached. Why? Well, the reason why is because he's got a good-looking young wife who he obviously shouldn't be with, who's got companies he's embezzling money through, right? Getting things approved for the government so he can be rich. Because since he's become a senator, he went from having nothing but debt, 2 kids with he's got 3 kids altogether or 4 kids altogether. I think he's got 2 with the wife he's with, and then 2 with 2 random other women that he got knocked up, right? Because this is your big time example. And then, and now all of a sudden he's a congressman. Now, he didn't have any money before he became a congressman. But now all of a sudden he's got millions of dollars. How did that happen? I mean, weren't you busy doing your job? How did you have time to start businesses, make money, how did you get all that time? Because you used our system to profit off us, and then you have the nerve and audacity to attack President Trump, who made his fortune before he ever came into office and has done nothing but lose money since he took office. I'm exhausted with the idea that these useless, mediocre people are allowed to stay in any kind of position. And I just, I struggle with, how do you overcome that without violence? I just don't know, because I feel violent about it. Now, I'm a believer in non-violent protesting, but that doesn't change the way I feel about wanting them removed immediately. And the fact that they are committing these crimes against humanity, the fact that there are sanctions levied against the Bushes, the Obamas, the Clintons, all of them for crimes against humanity, and nobody knows it. Nobody knows.
I know, it's amazing, right? That this is so bottled up that they don't let this information flow. You could just see that this deep state apparatus is so overreaching, and what they want to do is complete it around the world and have it really oversee. Earlier on, I was talking about those levels of government that you had outlined: draconian and monarch and the crown, and then you had the governments. Well, above the governments, they want to create this international bureaucracy that goes beyond where it is right now, which is the financial and the money system, but to bring it down into just every aspect of your life, to control everything about you, and this bureaucracy that is unseen. In Europe, the EU they could see it, right? They have committees, and they have people that you can look like you can go there and state your piece, but you can't, right? It's already defined, but it looks like it's where people have a say, but they don't. So, but at least people can see that, right? It's the stuff that's behind the scenes that has been existing in the world of banking and money that they want to extend to everything. And that's what people are standing up already for. That's like how I started this program, talking about Brexit, talking about the yellow vest, talking about how they want to create this system that is just about controlling everyone, and no one has a say in it. And now it is being fought against, and so tomorrow the election for a new British political party called the Brexit Party is probably going to not only win, that they'll be in existence, but they'll probably win the general election in October.
Well,
Replace the Labour and the Conservative Party.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great move. That is great. That is great. That is, I just, I just don't think these things at the current pace they're going, even though I know we all think they're moving at an alarming pace based on their track record of uselessness, right? So, based on making nothing but negative progress for the past 100 years or whatever, devaluing. Did you see the speech by Robert Welsh that's out there? It's circulating on the internet from 1958. Dan?
I'm not sure.
Okay, no, yeah, sorry. So it's out there. I'll send it to you. But it's from 1958, and he gets up and tells everyone that they are trying to get the complete surrender of the American people and the willing participation to give up our sovereignty. And he talks about this in 1958, and he says, and there are many points they are using to do it, and I will give them to you. And he goes, one, and he starts going through a list of 10 things. Every one of those things that he said, right? The guy was a self-made millionaire, and he called out the cabal. He clearly knew the agenda. Clearly, he called out everything they're still doing. He talked about devaluing the dollar. He talked about excessive spending, which, by the way, that's repeated in the Iron Mountain report. It talks about how because there's no war, you have to come up with some other way to have excessive spending, right? Because with the war system, you're always tearing down and building back up. It's excessive constantly, right? So that's why they squirrel money away to make it seem like there's not enough. But in reality, there's plenty. There's plenty to go around. So you would have to come up with ways for the government to spend excessively. All right, that's why we have $10,000 toilet seats and things like that, right?
Right.
So he talks about that. He talks about, I mean, every single thing he talked about, every single thing. He talks about how the state lines will have no more power than the county lines have now. That we will not have borders, that we will be divided up into different sections of the entire world, and we will no longer have a country, and you will no longer be sovereign. And he goes through 10 points out by tomorrow. Well, we're putting out a video on it because I cross-referenced every single thing he said with actual socioeconomic studies that have been done over the years on the United Nations, on the IMF, and every single thing he said is not just speculation in 1958. it was a carefully executed plan that has brought us up to today, and so carefully executed that they did high level, thorough testing all throughout the process for the past, 80 years or so. And it's very well documented. I mean, it's absolute proof of the agenda they're on, right? And I'm just like, how is it that in this age of the internet that we're all so busy following, trying to keep up with the Kardashians that we didn't know this is going on,
Right.
and nobody seems to care. It's like we're
Well,
just breaking down what we're.
6 second attention span, right?
Yeah.
We're doing 3-hour programs, right? And with people that have been trained to change their thought patterns every 6 seconds. So who can focus on changing anything?
So, man, do you know this guy, Sasha Stone?
I heard the name.
Oh, okay. I thought you had some insight. I heard. So I heard he's in league with the. He's kind of like Ben Fulford. He's like in league with the secret societies, but he's pretending to launch the movement to waking up humanity or something like that. So I'm curious. One of our people said that that somebody from his group reached out to us to interview him. So I'm like, yeah, I'll interview anybody. That's cool.
Yeah, that's a good idea. It's about having the conversation. We don't have to agree. It's just about having that conversation.
I agree. We can have that conversation. I'll tell you, I'm not one to sit there and let somebody lie and misrepresent either, though. And I noticed that for the most part.
And that's why I said conversation. I didn't say give them a platform to say their truth.
Duly noted. Yeah. But I'd like to see talk to I'd love to start exposing some of this stuff for what it really is. These guys are always pretending to be good guys, and they're not. And there has to be a marked definition between us, because just because somebody can say certain things, and they might have heard someone else say it, right? Who is, they might repeat something we say, right, and think, hey, we got them tricked for saying the same thing. They're not the same. It's not the same. There's a frequency and an energy created. There should be a peace and an empowering feeling when you hear someone speak right now who's in the right. So when you speak, it should be like that. All of us. I'm saying we should all have that attitude. That the words that come out of our mouth, they are truly not speaking truth to power, but it is the power of the truth speaking. It's a big difference. Because you can say true things. Anybody can say true things. But when you are the truth, when that's the embodiment of who you are, then you're going to make mistakes. You're not always going to say the right thing, but it still will be more powerful because that is the essence of who you are. So I'm looking at all these different things going on today, man. It's crazy, like now, I don't know who the congressman was. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but man, he like boxed Nadler's ears today. Oh my gosh, man, he sat right next to him, right? So it's
Collins.
Is Collins? No. Is it Collins? Maybe. But man, he tore him to pieces. He went through everything. He said, "You obviously don't care about getting the truth. You subpoenaed people, so now they couldn't even testify if they wanted to. You have issued more subpoenas in your position in 2 months than any other group in the past 200 years, right? You have, constantly ignored the facts that are stated, the conclusions of an entire report, and tried to fabricate them and keep bringing it back up and continue to fuel this fire of hatred against the president, right? I mean, he knocked him out.
Yeah, he did. And I think I did listen to that. I heard that this morning, and what I thought was more interesting though was what happened between Nancy Pelosi and Trump and Schumer, because Nancy Pelosi has this meeting about having an impeachment, right, and going after Trump on a cover up. And she has this meeting just before she's to meet with Trump, and so Trump comes in and says, "Hey, we can't have meetings. You're gonna have this kind of thing where you're gonna talk about this. You finish all your reports and everything, and then we'll talk." Right? It's a grand show. It definitely is.
So what is Nancy Pelosi saying now? She's trying to make it a cover up, like she's trying to
because
say
Trump is obviously doing a cover up, and of course Barr is participating in this cover up. It's a cover up. It's so been exposed. Here it is. Here's all the information, and the report says no collusion, no obstruction, and they just don't like it, so they're going to keep beating at it. Well, give us your taxes. Maybe we'll find something there.
I know. It's like, so in other words, you're on a do you like, I really want that flipped on them. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, they're making this spectacle, just this asinine, ridiculous circus that they're running,
Right.
Going after the president this way, trying to find dirt on him. I mean, I just want to be like, where's the body going? Okay, guys, every one of you is going to go through the same scrutiny. How long do you think it would take to find something on any of them? Nancy Pelosi, let's start with you. How did you go from being worth $4 million when you became a congresswoman to worth over $700 million? What exactly were you doing when you were supposed to be governing? How much time did you take off to start a business, make an invention, create something? What did you do? Oh, what they all do. They give preferential treatment to corporations. Corporations give them grants, give them money, give them all types of things for their fake foundations that only feed them. And they just exposed this up near Flint, Michigan, right? These same women who are attacking Trump, right? And they're government leaders. One's I think she was a governor. The one's like the mayor of Detroit. And they all had foundations. They collected money for Flint, Michigan, and the only person that benefits from the foundation is them.
Yeah.
And that right there should let everybody know the recipe for what they're doing. They know that they're all trying to cover up their own stuff. The irony, but we are right though, 100% of the time. If you want to know what they're doing, listen to what they accuse Trump of. Oh, it's a cover up. We got you. Thank you for that clue. We weren't sure what was going on. It's cover.
Yeah, it's an easy translator. Whatever they say against Trump, just put their names in it.
Yeah.
No matter who's saying it, put their name in place of Trump, and then they just have them looking at a mirror, and that's exactly what it is.
So I know, I've stayed focused on this collective consciousness, and really thought about it a lot of we don't want to infect the collective consciousness with the real crimes that have been committed, right? But I got to be honest, I think that, a better course of action would be to just adjust people just enough, and expose everything. Somehow, not everything, but enough that there's no more controversy, right? That there's no more, all this hate rhetoric and lies, right? Like, if they knew that Hillary Clinton was in a regular practice of filleting the faces of children off to torture them to get adrenochrome, and that on Anthony Weiner's laptop, that video is real, it's there, and it was part of the insurance file, and the NYPD has that, and I know that for a fact.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and they saw it, and then nobody does anything. Would you still be so convinced that like she got ripped off? This whole crowd of people that supported her, when all the media supported her, everybody was singing her praises. Like, how do you snap people out of this malaise? And not only that, but how do you get them to give a damn? That's the thing. I just can't. Like, at some point, you've got to do something.
Yep.
Every day I get attacked by people still now, every single day, that will attack people like, well, how does that help? How does that help you now? What about now? I'm like, oh my, you know what? At night when I go to sleep, man, I sleep like a baby. Now I only sleep about 3 or 4 hours, but in those 3 or 4 hours, I sleep like a baby because my conscience is clean. And I'll tell you what, all the money in the world will not replace having a clean conscience.
It's true. The money makes no difference. If your whole pursuit is about money and doing whatever it takes to get it, how is it going to make your soul? It's going to be in comfortable place? No, it's going to be irritated and agitated, and everything is in flux, and the fear that goes along with it. And how do you maintain it? The lies and distortions you have to do to keep things rolling in that direction. All that energy just sucks you dry.
Yeah. And it's amazing. I mean, we've been live every night for the past 79 days, right? And I still have people hit me up from the GCR, right?
I think this is 80.
80, okay. 80 days straight we've been live. I still have people hit me up who knew me from, follow me on one thing or another, right? And they're like, hey, Tank, I've been looking all over for you. And I talk to those people every day, and they're looking all over. I'm like, how hard are you looking, really? I mean, really, how hard? Or are they really suppressing the message that much? I'm not sure which one it is, right?
Right.
But it's amazing to me. Regardless, I'm like, we're in the midst of a transition. I just feel like snap out of it. Like everybody on this call who listens to this call, whoever hears it, should share it with everybody they know. You should go to the Speak Project Radio, speakproradio.com, and go put out last night's show. That show was amazing. Tonight I was talking to Archbishop Gerald Dante Mino, and he was talking about some amazing things, in his experience with, the Catholic Church, and he's like old school Orthodox Catholic kind of version, and like, and it's fascinating talking to him, right? Because we don't agree on a lot of stuff, but I know this: he's a man of high character and integrity, and he's certainly one of the best Catholic example I've ever met in the church. And he's got orphanages all over the world, and he was talking about this orphanage in the Congo, and these two boys, and like he would go down there and he would go down there to serve, to help the kids, right? Where the church he would go to, they would say to him, there's no money in that. That's what they told him. But he would go down to serve the poor and feed the poor, work with them, and he sponsored all these orphanages all over the world, right? And to keep them out of these corrupt systems, make sure they had food. And these two boys, they got sick, they went to the hospital, and they were in there, and they ended up dying. And even after they died, and he was broken hearted that he couldn't pay to help them. And then, even though they were dead and in the hospital, they wouldn't even turn their bodies back to the community without a price.
My goodness, yeah.
It's just, that kind of thing to me. I'm just like, what is wrong with you people? I mean, what is wrong with us?
Yeah. I know they do that here in the Philippines too. If the loved one dies in the hospital, they have to pay the hospital bill, or they won't release the body.
See, that's the kind of thing. I'm just like, you're gonna hold somebody who just lost their heart, somebody they love. You're going to hold them hostage. They don't have anything. They just lost everything they have. And you're going to take what little they have left. That is the MO of the cabal. That is who you are serving, all you government officials out there who continue to launch this ridiculous campaign to cover up your sins so you can maintain your useless, wretched lifestyle.
Yep. And it's so it is time to change it. So let's move. Let's get it going.
I totally agree.
Just so you know, I just posted that yesterday's show about an hour before I started this broadcast. So for the Speak Project,
Good.
so it's up there.
Yep.
Yeah, there was definitely some audio things still going on with you there, though. It got very loud at one point. So it's like,
I know, man. I mean, look, I got the best headset that money can buy. They're targeting me. Obviously, they're trying to make it so hard that I give up. Listen, all you useless cabal people with all your money and all you're doing, you will never beat me. I will never give up, and we will win. People will win. And look, and I'm just one of billions out there, but right now there's already millions, just like me, and they won't stop. So
Yep. Well, we're keep going. Keep it going. We'll be here at 80 days. We'll go to we'll be at 100 days, and then we'll be at 200 days.
no, Dan, no, Dan, no, Dan. We're breaking this now. Don't say that. What are you talking into the universe? This is over now, Dan. This is over now. Bring my words to
Okay.
power.
Well, we'll be here for 2 more days, and then it's finished.
We'll be here today, and tomorrow we're celebrating. We're announcing our celebration that we have broken through.
Well, I figured 2 days because tomorrow is the day they say, okay, here it is, and then we're on for one more day. Then we take a vacation.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah. Well, it's we're in that transition stage. It's okay. We'll have our money flowing into the accounts soon enough. I'm just I I've I guess in the conversation starting in this broadcast today, and why I was kind of bringing this up about the abundance-based systems, and about the people standing up, and we have to really start working that out. What does that mean? How do you have a system that doesn't collect tax from everybody? What does that look like? How does it happen? What is that? How does that function as a system? All right. So start laying that out in the conversations so that people can understand, and then we can bring on people that can also participate with these conversations and say how to make this work. Because we have the conversations, we can start hitting the ground running as soon as we have those funds to move that forward, or even without the funds, we still move forward. Yeah.
Yep. I I just think as long as funding, as long as money exists, it we have to take that back, because that is the chain around our necks. And
Yep.
I'll tell you something. I know there's other things and other ways. At the end of the day, I can claim freedom. I can act free. I can go live free. But if I still have a chain around my neck, they know I'm a slave. That is what I cannot get that out of my head. When I first started talking to Kim, um, she was kind of breaking down, she was breaking my heart, kind of, kind of telling me there was gonna be no RV, right? And I got real mad talking to her, right? And I actually blamed her. I said, you mean to tell me we're not doing the RV because of you? I was furious, right?
Mm.
And she was very, very kind and very patient with me. Because to be honest, I didn't know who she was. So, in my mind, I was like getting targeted by the cabal, right? And but I finally said to her, I said, listen, we need equal, if not greater, assets so that we can stand on equal footing, face to face, and let them know we are not their slaves. I said, I don't even care if they still have money. I'll take that competition any day of the week. I don't mind that. Give me the same. Give me the same. Kim even at one point offered them, she said she'd take a tenth, and they wouldn't do it because she was so confident in humanity that if you gave us a tenth of what they have, how much more we would do. But no, I don't agree with that anymore. Absolutely not. They do not deserve that. They don't even deserve to stand on equal footing with us. They have already had their time. And they've been given every opportunity to do the right thing. And still not. And still no. They've been given every opportunity to go a different path. Every opportunity to do the right thing. And you still got people out there dogging Kim when she's the only one who stood up for humanity, while all these cowardly, strong men were bowing down to the Rothschilds, servicing them at their will to show their dominance over them. That is the greatest tragedy in all of humanity. Now, the only way to overcome that is to do exactly what we're doing now, to overcome them with nothing, to take them out and show them that what they're doing and who they are has absolutely no power over us. That everything they've used against us is we've disabled it. It has no power, and that includes money. But
They have no power over what we decide that we're going to stand up and do. They only have the power to basically convince us not to do anything.
now that is powerful. All it takes for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing.
Right?
So while everybody's waiting, they're waiting for pennies to fall from heaven. You know, while the government officials continue to be bribed and they continue to be threatened and blackmailed and all these other techniques of the devil, right? In front of them is the choice, right? It's Deuteronomy 30 and 19, right? I place before thee blessings and cursings, life and death. Choose life. Man, that's a choice you have to make every day. That's something where you are faced with those choices a million times a day.
You know,
Do I spend
I was just saying our friends that have been participating in the GCR for all this time and have we know them to have good hearts and wanting to do good things. This is what's being taken advantage of, is because that trusting nature of these people want to believe the people say tomorrow, right? And so they're now waiting and being patient. Patience is a virtue. And you pointed that out. That part of the restored republic via the GCR, opening lines about patience being a virtue, and how that's being abused, right? To really just again, in essence, create a spell, to keep people.
yeah.
Just
All the virtues are about you being humble, being lowly, accepting your lot in life, accepting that the reward for your righteousness is in heaven. In other words, I want you to stay as low as possible in this life, and then I'm going to kill you. And when you die, I've convinced you that you're going to go someplace else because you were so righteous in this life. But that's not what happens, because then we catch you in a soul trap and we put you through it right over again and we use your energy again. Right? That's the truth. Right? That's the harsh truth of what they do over and over again. This life is where you make a difference. This moment is where you make a change. Because if you don't find a way to make a change in this moment, then nothing else matters. Because the only time you ever made a difference was the moment you were in. Now, if we could just be present in this moment and ask ourselves, what am I doing to make a difference right now? Because if you're not doing anything to make a difference right now, you're not doing anything to help. And all those guys who are sitting around waiting, like, I know, you're sweetheart of a guy, Dan. You're always like, oh, they're good people. I challenge that, because I've given them absolute facts and evidence, but they're holding out to be rich at the expense of all of us.
Okay,
So
well, I was being overly broad, and
yeah,
yeah, I know, in the millions of people out there in the GCR, that a good portion of them are really in it for just the greed of it, and the talk of doing good projects and everything is just talk. They really, but a lot of people that I'm dealing with, for the most part, are really looking to do good things.
no, I believe that. I believe that.
But so yeah, I'm being overly broad and generalizing this, but yeah, but there is a part of that good natured part that's being taken advantage of my friends, right? That I know that they want to do something that's for the good, and this idea of them being patient and just waiting for tomorrow is being abused. That good natured side of this, to say, oh well, we're almost there. It's tomorrow.
So this is one of the favorite conversations I ever had with Kim and someone else. Uh, this group was out of, I won't even say the country, just out of some other country, and they had but they were all American, and they had formed this group of what they thought was the global leaders, the best of the best, the cream of the crop. and they had all these inventions, thousands of inventions, right? And so, you know, and it is very in the very beginning. So I got him on the phone to talk to Kim. And they start saying how they're so connected and they do this and they do that, right? And then, Kim just mentions, not, she wasn't promoting or anything. She's like, she used the example of the high speed monorail, right? Now, everyone who hears the high speed monorail first, when Kim first came out and said she funded all the governments for the building of the high speed monorail, the reason why is because there's a treaty to build the high speed monorail, and the high speed monorail actually restores the toroidal energy fields, right? And it also, it's made from the same metal as the Ark of the Covenant, and it is anti-gravitational, right? And this tech has been around since 1978. Can literally go right out over the water, right? You wouldn't even have to build a track. So you really could just build the train, and then all you have to do is just clear a pathway, right? And you don't even really need to clear a pathway because you could put it, 40 feet in the air if you wanted. So, anyways, and so it's incredible, right? It's not limited by speed or anything. And this guy said, "Yeah, well, we have a better." He didn't know all those things. He didn't even ask, though. That was the thing. He started going into how he had a better system, and it was a highway that was going to be elevated on wires above everything, right? And what you would do is, in that time, no one would be in a rush, so you wouldn't have to go that fast, right? I'm like, you already lost me, dude. Like, so you're gonna have, and then he goes, and Kim goes, well, how would you get off? And he goes, well, there'd be exits, and you just slow down and get off the exit. I'm like, wait a minute, don't we have that now? Isn't it called a highway? Like, so in other words, you don't have it's not an invention, genius, right? It's just the same thing that we already have, right? But he was convinced that it was so far beyond what Kim had, right? I'm like, how does that help humanity to have a big eyesore of a not even a floating highway, elevated on wires? I'm like, what it would take to do that. So
what's it hanging from?
I'm sure you'd have to build some kind of structure to get it up in the air, right? I don't know. Basically, like it is now, right? So, but here's my point, right? So things like that, like people, a lot of the men, right, especially that are in charge, they have such a hard time wrapping their mind around that a woman has all these incredible ideas and understanding and knows these things. I mean, and I'm like, are you kidding? We really like it never even occurred to me to be surprised that she was a woman. you know, but what's so amazing is in this over and over again, I've watched men just get so frustrated as she explains to them how the system works because they don't know. I've been with all these different owners of trusts and government leaders. They all get so frustrated, and you can hear them go back to the same exact pattern. Like, no, we have to do. We need a tear sheet. We need to have proof of funds. So she goes, okay, you can get proof of funds this way. No. You just got through telling us how important you were. Like this guy who's got a documentary out, I think, or it's coming out, is Mr. Undercover. He's supposed to be this famous FBI agent, right? He's so impressive. I talked to that guy. He said, "Oh no, I won't have those problems." I told him all the things that are going on. I said, "Well, they stopped us this way, do this." I called him back a few days later. I said, "Hey, I want to use you as a reference for this, because I'm talking to somebody." He's like, "No, don't say anything about me." Right? He got all scared because all it took was for one person to tell him you won't have access anymore, right? And he had to give up his identity. I'm like, because you didn't know what was going on, but you thought you did. He's got a documentary coming out how he changed the way we investigate white collar crimes. I'm like, you didn't do anything. You don't even know what's going on. That's the thing that just drives me crazy. Like, they're not even exposing what's really happening anywhere, even with the intel. All these intel people.
Well, it's funny that they haven't seen the movie Jupiter Ascending. It's about the woman is
yeah, who was the rightful heir of the planet.
Part of everything. She's through her genetics is identified as the one.
Yep, that's right.
And when did that movie come out?
I don't know. What was that? 2015, maybe 14? No, it's not. It's not a good flick too. Good flick.
Yeah.
But but that's the thing. I mean, it's just like they're, the act of creation. It generates from having a fearless imagination.
2015. So they had to make an announcement after Kim came on scene, right? So.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, this is what's going on. Here's our status update for you, so you know.
It's crazy. So, anyways, the fight continues, but we are definitely knocking at the door, and I just everything energetically, spiritually, and actually, I think physically. I just don't have the whole story right now. From Kim, and hopefully she's deleting code. I feel like, I pray that is a process that's relatively, you know, expedient, and we can get to the next step. And so that's kind of where we're at. And I have to believe that we have to break through this. I mean, it really is paramount to everybody's life. It's not even a joke. It is essential for every one of us to thrive right now. It is essential for us to break through this. And I have to be honest, I don't see it happening any other time than right now. It has to be in this moment, and there just has to be an energetic push. So all you energy workers and intuitives and seraphims and angelic people out there, all the galactics that are here helping us, get your act and your focus on punching through this thing and getting it done now. Because every second you wait, I got kids dying everywhere. It's just not acceptable anymore. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what dimension you're in, how high you go. It does not matter. To take that potential life and all that it represents and all that it can be, and never even give it a chance to be, when we have every bit of resources, every bit of access, the technology, the ability, everything's here. But because we allow these inept losers to run the world, we haven't broken them. Still haven't broken them. Damn. I'd say, I don't know. Dan, I keep wondering, like, what else do I have to do? I just don't know. So,
Well, we could talk about that off air.
Indeed.
I have that a meeting coming up. I should talk with you about it. So that's one of the things we can do to move these things forward. Starting with how we change the world, right? How do we stand up? How do we make those first steps towards this? We're making it, anyway. But there's things we can do.
Indeed. All right. Damn, I call it a night.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And I'll call you in just a few minutes. Just say goodbye to everyone. Please subscribe, share the link. It's very important to share the link. That's how this spreads. Even though you may have done it before, do it again. Make positive comments. All those things help add to what we're doing. Until tomorrow, we'll catch you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night, Dan.